release me from my winter hell. I've got candles and candy, I can be your daddy if you only let me creep into your prison cell. Hey baby, can you tell I'm not a criminal? Your choice is seminal. I want you to stay true to what's right for you. No matter who or know what will others say, just find your way and try to stay true. Just speak low, stand in your row, try not to show this life's a show. Try not to glow way down below. Oh, it's a lot of woe, and that's not a place where you would like to go. I've got cigarettes and brandy, which could come in handy if you just help me loosen up my hand grenades fuse. Baby, don't refuse my truth, but it's up to you now to choose. I want you to stay true to what's right for you. No matter who or know what will others say, just find your way and try to stay true. I want you to stay true to what's right for you. No matter who or know what will others say, just find your way and try to stay true, 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 true,
Hi, you guys. Good, excuse me. Good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you're at. It's good to see everybody. I'm glad you're here. The first thing we need to talk about is the jury did reach a verdict in the Sean Diddy Combs trial. So let's see. Let me read it to you guys. All right. Jurors in the federal criminal trial of Sean Diddy Combs on Wednesday morning found the hip-hop mogul guilty of 2 of the 5 counts filed against him, acquitting him of the other 3. The 12-member panel acquitted Combs of racketeering and sex trafficking, but found him guilty of prostitution-related offenses. After the verdict was read, the judge adjourned court while he weighs whether to grant Combs bail before sentencing. The 55-year-old, who could have been sentenced to life in prison had he been convicted of racketeering or sex trafficking, now faces a maximum of 20 years in prison. What do you guys think? Was it justice? I don't know. I don't know what the judge is going to do, if the judge will grant him bail pending sentencing. I mean, the whole reason why he wasn't allowed bail in the first place is because he is a flight risk. So, yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I haven't heard anything about that, whether the judge has decided to grant him bail or anything, and ahead while they wait for sentencing. Okay. The other thing we have, hold on a second, I forgot how to do things apparently. Waiting for Ally. I sent her a message. Let me see something here. I can't really do anything with this just yet, so I'll just keep it up. I'm waiting for Ally to join. I sent her a message, and hopefully she'll join us soon. So there's a couple of things that I wanted to talk about with before they start the hearing. I think what's to be expected today. This is called a change of plea. So basically, I think what's going to happen is this. I think that Bryan Kohberger will stand in front of the judge and he will plead guilty. Okay. And then I think that will be basically it. I think after that, they're going to schedule the sentencing hearing. Okay. And I think that's when, you know, Bryan will get his sentence. And I think that's when the judge will allow any victim impact statements to be heard. And so I think that's how today is going to go with Kohberger. One of the things that I wanted to talk about is what happened prior to this plea deal. Okay. And I just want to remind everybody that it is Bryan Kohberger who reached out to the prosecution. Now, did he do that through his attorney? Well, obviously, right? But it came from him. Ann Taylor would not have reached out to the prosecution, if Bryan had not asked her to. Okay. And that's important to remember. The other thing that I think is really important to remember about what could have happened had he gone to trial. Well, let me put it a different way. One of the things that Ann Taylor was planning to do, okay, as a defense for Kohberger, she wanted to introduce the alternate suspect. She intended to yes, crocheting Bammy, I will. Just give me a second. She intended to essentially accuse 4 people of the murders. And yet now Kohberger is pleading guilty. I think that's really messed up. You know, Kohberger has played a lot of games from the very beginning of this, knowing that this was all over the news. And the reason why he knew it was all over the news is because he was looking at it. He was looking it up. Okay. So he was well aware of what was going on, and he's been playing games this entire time. So when he's arrested, right, he asks, knowing it's going to be reported because he knows that of the public interest in this case, that he asks if anybody else has been arrested. That was the beginning of the game playing, okay? And it continued throughout. He stood silent during the initial arraignment, okay? And I'd like to remind everybody also how he even became to be indicted in the first place, okay? Initially, there was going to be a probable cause hearing, all right? This is important, okay? The reason that they took it to a grand jury is because the surviving roommates were too traumatized to get on the stand, and they would have been called because they were in the arrest affidavit. Okay. They would have been called as witnesses. Okay. And I know that people don't understand their actions that night, but we don't know all of their actions that night. We don't. We know bits and pieces, parts of what Ann Taylor, as Bryan Kohberger's defense attorney, has used in filings. We don't have the full picture of what happened with the roommates that night at all. We have little tiny pieces of it, okay? And it's important to remember that. It's important to, because so much has been said about the roommates negatively. Oh, they're suspicious. Oh, they didn't do this. They should have done that. They could have, they should have, they would have, all the things, right? All right. And the fact of the matter is, we don't know what happened that night with the roommates. We don't. But what we do know is that the state decided that they were too traumatized to testify. They weren't out partying. They weren't out taking pictures. They were in hiding. They were in hiding. They were traumatized. That's how we got to where we're at. And all of us, the majority of us that have followed this case from the very beginning, we're looking back with hindsight, knowing some of what happened. What we know is that Ethan Chapin, Xana Kernodle, Maddie Mogan, and Kaylee Goncalves were found brutally murdered. That we know that happened. We know the outcome. Okay. But we don't, and we're looking back on the shoulda, woulda, couldas. I would have done blah, blah, blah. I would have blah, blah, blah. No, you don't know that. You have no idea. And also, most of us are significantly older than these two roommates. We have much more life experience. What I would have done at 19 is not the same as what I would have done at 48. It's just not. I was a different person then. That's it. That's all. I have life experience. And it irritates the shit out of me when people are saying, "Oh, the roommates, they're suspicious." Let me calm down. Let me calm down. All right. The other thing that I wanted to read to you guys comes from the Gonzalez family page. It was posted 2 hours ago. Okay. And I want to read to you what it says. Uh-oh, what's my radar saying? Just so you guys know, light rain is expected over here. Okay. That's what that whole big thing was, light rain. Give me a break. All right. Anyway. Right here, right now, we dig our heels into the earth and carve a line deep in the dirt. This ain't justice. No judge presided. No jury weighed the truth. Thompson robbed us of our day in court. No negotiations, no jury of our peers, not even the pretense of cooperation and fairness. Cowardly men, gutless men, they scatter like roaches when the battle closes in. And Thompson? He's retiring on this deal, his shadow slithering toward the exit, leaving only the stench of his betrayal. No spine, no shred of honor. He didn't have the basic decency, the plain human courage to face the families, to meet our eyes and ask, how do we make an offer that works? Instead, Thompson cut his deal with the devil. His negotiations didn't require anything other than a simple guilty plea, allowing him the leeway to blame the same people you are paid to protect. You betrayed us, Thompson. Your deal, it should be your deal. Your deal fails to shield the innocent. You could have stood tall and made damn sure the blame stayed where it belongs, not on us, not on the broken survivors still carrying the weight of your repeated failures. This is our courtroom now. This moment, this stand. Our voices rise to every American who'll listen. We would have provided protection for the roommates, the best friends, the fallen vet, God rest his soul, and every soul affected in our shattered community. We would have carved our terms like sacred commandments etched deep into unyielding granite, a testament to those we've lost and the justice they're owed. First, truth. Spill it, BK. Every sickening detail only the killer could know. The kind that twists your gut just to hear, but turns even a simpleton Kohberger against you. Second, you bear the guilt, all of it alone. You don't get to smear the survivors, the ones still waking to nightmares born of your reckless choices. Third, no cashing in on our grief, no books, no private interviews with your ex professor. No one is allowed to study you because you are not special. You don't get to spit on our kids' graves by making this all about you. Only Hitler can step into this void, mend the wreckage Thompson left in Latah's so-called justice system. This is what murder victims' families' negotiation looks like, sorry. It's ugly, it's raw, it's wild, it's anything but easy. Yet you, Mr. Thompson, didn't even bother to negotiate with us. So this is all we have left. There is no more time for us to wait for you to make a stand, so we stand in your place. Kaylee Jade Goncalves, we love you, baby. You deserved better than this justice system. Your soul is not Thompson's bargaining chip. We do not accept his plea deal signed in your name. We're screaming for you as loud as we can. Kaylee Jade is better than this. This is our last shot. Judge Hitler, you are our only hope that our child murder isn't granted control over his destiny in our children's names. You take control of this deal and make it right, because now you own it. So that is how Mr. Gonzalez feels. Now I want to answer just a second. I want to answer Crocheting Bammy. The reason that who asks, can you explain why it's important who reached out to who? It's important because people have been all over the internet saying things like, the state knows they can't convict him. The state doesn't have enough evidence. This is the state's way of just sweeping all of this under the rug. And they, is it possible that there's, they're holding something over Bryan Kohberger's head, and this is what's making, him make this deal, blah, 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 blah. No, this is no different than any other. This is not what's happened. This is not subterfuge. This is not a conspiracy. This is when they learned that they could not use 4 people who had nothing to do with this crime as a form of trying to inject reasonable doubt into the prosecutor's case. When that was turned down, they knew that chances were that if this went to trial, that Bryan Kohberger was going to be found guilty, and he was going to face the death penalty at some point. At some point, all of his appeals would be exhausted. At some point, the only way that the death penalty could have been taken off of the table after all of his appeals would have been exhausted would have been for the governor to grant him a stay, or to commute his sentence from the death penalty to life without the possibility of parole. Okay, that's why it's important. It's important because it wasn't the state who said, "Oh, hey, by the way, maybe let's just try for the hell of it one last time to see, let's see if we can't get this kid to admit to take a plea deal." That wasn't what happened here. That wasn't what happened. And I think, to be quite honest with you, I think this was always going to happen. I think that Bryan Kohberger was always going to do this. This was the last measure of control that he had. Pardon me, Ally Erickson has joined. Let me add our good friend, my friend and yours, Ally Erickson. Hello.
I actually been here for like maybe 2 minutes, but for some reason, like, I don't know. Did you see me backstage?
No, it only told me just now. Alex
Okay, because
Erickson joined. That's how it's literally, it's exactly how it sounds. Alex Erickson joined.
well, the first time it wouldn't even give me the option to turn off my camera, so I think it just like froze or lagged or something, and it was like I was here and I turned it off backstage, but then when it went to like for me to be waiting for you to pull me up, it just said stop, and then you press it, it wouldn't stop the camera. So I don't know, it was weird. I had it turned facing the grass anyway, but yeah, I'm here. Sorry I'm late.
Yay!
I guess I misunderstood because I was thinking we were starting at 1, but it does make sense you want to start a little bit earlier. So
Well, I was gonna, and then I was like, I know that I'm gonna want to talk. I know that I'm I, I'm gonna want to talk. And at first, I was gonna start it at 11:45, and then I moved it to earlier because I was like, what if, um, what if my speechifying goes on too long?
well, now we can talk. Before.
Yes. Did you get to hear? Did you get to hear the statement that the Gonzalez family has made? I
No,
struggle pronouncing that. I just read it. They're very
I
mad,
didn't know.
and they want Judge Hippler to step in and not take this deal.
Oh my, I wonder if they have sent anything directly to him. Like, I'm sure they probably have, but
Yeah,
what do you think?
I don't know what, if any, um, recourse other than to sue Bryan Kohberger civilly.
Mm,
That's really the only um, recourse that I know of. I am, again, but I must remind people I am not an attorney. Okay. I don't, so, in any
well,
capacity.
couldn't the judge just say no? We're too close. People have booked their flights. They have booked their travel. No, I'm not accepting a deal. I don't think he would, but is it possible?
It's always possible, yes. And I give you the example of Judge Hine in the um, uh, Pike County massacre case. Okay. So long before the original trial judge retired. And so he took over for this judge. He came from another, uh, oh, on X, huh? Let's go check out the X Twitters. Un momentito, por favor.
Interesting, sleuths.
Interesting sleuths. I know.
Due to flights being purchased, I mean, that's a good point, but I'm sure they could have. Can't you purchase flights like right at last minute?
You can, but it's quite expensive.
I've never flown, so I don't know.
It's very expensive. Seriously, ideally the closest in time that you would want to purchase a flight would be really 2 weeks.
Right.
Hold on.
Interesting. She tagged you in it.
Oh, okay. Oh, yay. And now I know how to, oh, I got it. Let's see. All right, hold on. How did I do this before? Here, this is where I need to be. Got it. Let's see.
It was supposed to be cool here today and rainy, like not cool, 84, but it doesn't look like it's going to be 84 or rainy. And I was looking forward to a day to cool off, man.
All right, here we go. Hold on, I'm gonna make this bigger. No, I don't want picture in picture. What are you talking about? I want it full screen. Oh, hold on. I messed it up.
And yes, 84 is cool.
I messed it up. Hold on. Hold on. Let me do it.
Yeah, even the Weather Channel says it's not raining. There's not a rain cloud in the sky
All right.
today. Because if when it's hot, I need to be outside at the water.
Okay, well, I understand that you want to be outside at the water right now, but we got business.
No, what I'm saying is I want to be inside cleaning my house and doing this and doing things I need to do.
Oh, okay.
But today, because today it was supposed to rain here and be only 84, which is way cooler.
That's how it's
When it
supposed to
gets
be
up to
here.
like 100. Yeah, and when it gets up to like 100, the air condition barely works. Like the only
Yep.
way to really I have to go down to the dock because it's windier and I can actually breathe a little bit. Because I like to be outside smoking too, as well, not just the air conditioner barely working. But I don't
Yeah.
see the rain clouds. Like rain.
Uh-oh.
That's what I was saying.
Oh, gotcha. All right. So MD, I think I'm saying that right. Thank you very much for the super sticker. Says, no disrespect to the families, but how many times do we say, why don't they just plead guilty and spare the families? There are no winners here. I mean, you're right. And I think for Mr. Gonzalez, it's more about, I think that the insult to injury here is that Kohberger is not being made to say what he did. I think that if that had been, I think he would still be upset because they had emotionally prepared for a trial, which is so difficult. Okay. And I think that, but I think that if that had been included, it would not have been ideal, but I think that would have gone a long way. That's what I think. So we're going to listen to his thing before we get started. Are you guys ready? All right,
Yes.
it's up all the way. All right, here we go.
I mean, it was good enough for mine.
Do you have any message for Kohberger?
Yeah, what do you want Kohberger to do? We know when you flew out here. We know. We have your flight records.
How are you preparing to see him today?
I'm not going to see him.
When you say you know the flight records, what do you mean, Steve?
I know when his parents booked their flight. When his father did.
What does that mean?
You'll find out.
Would you like to say something to them?
No, I don't care about it.
The rest of your family went inside. Is it important for them to be in there today?
Yeah, for sure.
Where are you going? Are you not able to get?
Getting out of this zoo.
You're not staying in,
No, I'm not going to.
Steve.
Guys, I mean, it was good enough for mine.
Do you have any message for Kohberger?
Yeah, what do you want Kohberger?
Man, oh man, he is not happy.
I mean, it was good enough for mine.
Do you have any message for Kohberger?
Yeah, what do you want Kohberger to do?
We know when you flew out here. We know. We have your flight records.
How are you preparing to see him today?
I'm not going to see him.
When you say you know the flight records, what do you mean, Steve?
I know when his parents booked their flight. When his father did.
What does that mean?
You'll find out.
Would you like to say something to them?
No, I don't care about it.
The rest of your family went inside. Is it important for them to be in there today?
Yeah, for sure.
Where are you going? Are you not able to
I'm
get?
getting out of this zoo.
You're not staying in,
No, I'm not going to.
Steve.
Guys, I mean, it was good enough for mine.
Do you have any message for Kohberger?
All right, so there's part 2. Let me just make sure there's nothing. Tess, I got your email, babe, and I read it already. Thank you, though, for sending that to me. This time, your girl was on top of it. Look at me. I'm so proud of me.
Hey, Dee. Look, Dee said, poor Steve, I'm tearing up after all they went through and ready for jury trial. Now this, and he is screaming to be heard. She said, I never comment, just had to today.
Dee, well, thank you for coming out of the bushes and commenting. I appreciate that. Welcome to the ward. Welcome, welcome. Welcome to the chat. I don't think they're keeping him from, what do you mean, like keeping Steve from walking? No, I think that they're just, I think Steve is really, I mean, I think he's really, really, really angry about this situation. And like I said, I do think that, hold on, let me just check and make sure, because I think that I read the same thing, but let me just check and make sure for sure that there isn't a newer statement from. Yeah, no, I already read this. Okay, I think, yep, I did. Okay, thank you so much to Sluice Investigates. Thank you so much to Tess for sending me that stuff. I appreciate that very much. You guys helped me so much. I
Yeah,
can't
thank you
thank you guys
guys.
enough, really. I think that Steve is angry. And I think that, like I said, I really do think that I think a lot of it has to do with, so Crocheting Bammy says, I had a hard time understanding him. I know he alluded to the fact that the Kohbergers knew about the deal before he did. What he said was that he knows when the Kohberger family booked their flights. He has their flights, their flight data, which, implies that they knew about. And here's the deal. It's very, very possible that they did. And it's possible that Kohberger himself told his parents. I don't think that it's anything nefarious on the part of the prosecution. Like, I think what the prosecution did, and I understand Steve's frustration, and I'm not taking anything away from him at all. The families, all of them, every member, whether they feel the same, they feel differently, they're on the same page, they're not on the same page, does not matter. They are absolutely, completely, and totally entitled to feel how they feel. And I'm not taking anything away from that at all. Okay. What I'm saying is, I think that what happened is, I don't think that the prosecutor wanted to go to the Gonzalez family or any of the families with a potential plea deal and then it be taken away. I think that the prosecution might have thought that would be too much of an emotional roller coaster to put them on, and didn't want to go to the families with anything until they had something for sure to go on. Does that make sense? But I can see how it would be perceived by the families as if they were an afterthought. Nobody cared. Go ahead.
Yeah, I can see that too. But how would they have the flight records? You know what I mean? How would they know when they purchased it?
I don't know. I have no idea. I don't know how that works. I've never, see, that's the FAA. That's a federal. Okay. And I don't have an issue like FOIA, like with FOIA requests. That's part of our process. It's part of our system that exists in these United States. And as a United States citizen, I am allowed to get FOIA requests. But a flight record
Oh, okay.
is something different. And that is the flight records are maintained by the federal government, and I would not be contacted. It's my choice. Could you possibly, I mean, under other circumstances, deal with the federal government? Sure. And make requests of the federal government? Absolutely. Would I? No. That's just me.
Hey, speaking of the feds, Diddy was found not guilty of the RICO and one of the charges
Yes.
about Cassie. The
Yes.
thing that he was found guilty for carries, it's like a 1 to 10. It carries up to 10 years.
20.
Some places are, no, some are saying 20. There's two different parts of the statute. Some are reporting that it's to 10. Some are reporting that it's 20. I don't know which one it is for sure.
So the way
But I
that it
looked it up.
is up to 20 is the way that I read it. But so anywhere from, up to 20. That's the max. Okay, but you looked
See,
it
the
up.
way I read it as two different statute, like two different laws, depending on what type it is as far as transportation of prostitution, because that's what the charge was. But
Gotcha.
yeah, there's two different, like one is up to 20 and one is up to 10. I think HJB said it was the 10 years, and Law and Crime, because I watched a couple different places and they were reporting different things. So I don't know. But regardless, let's say it was the 10 years, he's already done 9 months. It's a first time offense. There's a lot of people who get felonies and they're facing, state felonies though. But let's say two 1 to 10s and they walk on probation with no time served. I would not be surprised if he doesn't get any time, like if he gets out, honestly.
Yeah.
But I had also been saying this, if anybody goes back to my videos on this, because I was following really closely. It just sucked because you were having to follow reporters in the courtroom
Right.
and not, or wait for transcripts. But there, until the very end, none of the witnesses, like his employees, were testifying that they were part of, let's say, cleaning up after and different things like that. Like that would make this a RICO, an enterprise.
Gotcha. Right.
And a lot of people were worried that the jury would vote this way, and it looks like they did. So I don't know. It's pretty crazy.
Wow.
Let me show you what I'm talking about, though. I'll pull the Google search again and show you the two laws. I'll send it to you in text.
Okay. So right now, I think you misunderstood what I said. Crocheting Bammy says, I don't agree. I think that if it was a quote unquote good time to notify Kohbergers, then it was a past time to notify the families. What I'm saying is I don't think that the prosecution notified the Kohbergers. I think Bryan told his family. That's what I think happened. That's how they knew ahead of time. That was what I was trying to say. I don't think the prosecution had any. I don't think they notified the Kohbergers at all. I think Bryan Kohberger called his parents and told them what he was about to do. That's what I think. But I don't know. It just makes sense to me that, yeah.
So, okay. In 18 USC S2421, that can result in up to 10 years and potential fines. It carries a maximum of 10 years. The law prohibits the interstate or foreign transportation of individuals with the intent to engage in prostitution. But I think it's the 2422 that carries up to 20 years. Hold on, let me look.
Oh, you're right, Crocheting Bammy. It doesn't let the prosecution off the hook for going forward without notifying the families. They should have notified them. They should have. If Bryan was itching to take a plea deal, he was itching to take a plea deal. That's it. That's all. Right. So what did the state have to lose? If by waiting, letting just notifying the families, letting them have their feelings, talking with them before actually accepting the plea deal, just so that they had time to process and digest. Do you know what I mean? I don't think this, I think that Steve Gonzalez would have been angry, and rightly so, no matter what he would have been. He does not want Kohberger to get a plea deal. And if he's going to get a plea deal, he wants Kohberger to have to get up in front of God and everybody and say what he did. All of it. Everything. And he's angry, and I don't blame him. But I also think that with the prosecution, it would not have hurt them to wait, talk to the families, allow them some time to sit with it. They might have still been angry, but I don't think they would have. I think they probably might have still been angry, but I think that they wouldn't they wouldn't be feeling as if they were not considered and they were left out completely. That's what I think. That's my point. Okay. So Ally sent me a photo. Let's see.
That's
2
just the
photos.
one law the one. But I'm trying to find the other one that's up to 20 years because I saw both laws. I can only find the 10 years so far, but I'm going to find it.
I believe you,
Let's see,
babe.
we have the Mann Act.
I believe you.
But you don't have
Yeah,
to pull it up or whatever. I just wanted you to have
No,
it.
I believe you, babe. And thank you for sending that to me. I just think that even if there had been a trial, okay? Even if there had been a trial at the end of it, let's go back to the trials that I've covered and Ally's covered, that we've covered together, that we've watched, okay? At the end of the trial, Colorado versus Letitia Stout, there were no winners there. Yeah, Letitia went away, and she went to prison rather than a secure facility. But in the end, Gannon is still dead. Leilani Simon, in the end, Quentin is still dead. If this had gone to trial, in the end, Kaylee, Maddie, Ethan, and Xana would still be dead. Nothing's going to bring them back. And I agree. Crocheting Bammy says, I think the criticism would have been tampered down quite a bit, or stamped down, or tamped down, I'm not sure, quite a bit had the families been notified earlier. The anger is palpable. Absolutely. Harmony Montgomery as well. All of them. Nothing brings these victims back. Nothing undoes what was done.
Oh, Jen,
Oh,
speaking of Harmony,
yes.
did you see my post about that?
I did.
Yeah, so the family court judge filed a federal report trying to get an investigation into what happened to Harmony and the state, how they failed, how DCYF, I called it
Wow.
DCFS at first, but yeah, which is freaking awesome and exciting. Finally, somebody standing up for her and for other kids, because there's a lot of kids who get mistreated in the system. You know what I mean? That's just the truth.
Yes.
You
Okay.
guys can check it on my community page and see what she filed or some of it and what they've posted about it.
Yes, please let me go over to the chat really quick and put in
Oh, you don't have to
put
do
in
that.
your
Just look
link.
and search my
No.
name.
I'm going to put your link in. I have it in the Nightbot. All right, hold on. There we go. Okay. The other thing is, at this point, there is no live stream upcoming for Stephan Sterns hearing. I do believe that it's going to be streamed. There's nobody that's streaming it yet. I'm very irritated about that. So, but let me see, because it's usually Fox 35 Orlando that does it. So let me click on their channel. And I mean, they are, let me see this. If there's an got it. Got Okay, so I'm on the Idaho Judicial Court. I can go and see. I know Court TV is streaming this, so I would assume that if they, yeah, I'm gonna stick here because I feel more professional streaming it right from the judicial branch's YouTube channel than I do restreaming Court TV or Law and Crime. I feel like a real YouTuber now, you guys. Woohoo! So, what can we expect with Stephan Sterns? Well, both the state and the defense filed a joint motion to continue. Okay. They've asked for the defense has filed a motion to remove newspapers from the courthouse during the pendency of proceedings. The defense says that they do not want the jurors when they're coming in for jury selection and when they're there for the actual trial. There have been newspapers in the courthouse where it talks about Maddie, it talks about Stephan Sterns. They want those banned so that the jurors have no opportunity to be unduly influenced by media. Judge, hold on a second. Judge Karsten has not issued a ruling with respect to the phone. Okay. Back in April 23rd, actually, the defense wanted the evidence that came from the phone suppressed because they said that it was not acquired legally, lawfully. And so therefore they want it suppressed. And the state argued, yeah, we did not have a warrant, but we had emergent evidence. Stephan had already factory reset his phone twice, and we felt that he was going to destroy any potential evidence that would have been on that phone, and we had to act, and we had to act now. What do I think? I think that the defense gave it their best shot, but the fact that Stephan Sterns did factory reset his phone not once, but twice, and then said it was on an accident, I think that does show a clear set of emergent circumstances, and I think that that's how the judge is going to rule. I think that the phone evidence comes in. I think that Stephan Sterns is gonna, it's all coming in. It's all coming in. Now, this hearing or this trial, the trial that he's going to take now is for the SA and the CSAM, okay, of Maddie. This is the one trial that I want Stephan to take a plea deal for, and here is why. I don't know how the state is going to handle presenting the evidence, okay? And I think that Maddie was violated horrifically. And I think that having to show that in open court and to the jurors, obviously it would never be broadcast, but anybody that's watching it in person and the jurors, I don't know how exactly they're going to handle all of that. But I think that she deserves dignity and death. She's been violated by Stephan for a lot of her life. And I think that this is the one trial that I would not be upset or, I think I think it should result in a plea deal. The murder trial, absolutely not. I think that, whatever happens, happens. So yeah, there's that. That's just how I feel.
I'm here. I'm just eating. Plus, I'm in my
Okay.
house, so the debook or whatever the hell you call it might
Dybbuk.
be here.
The Dubuque.
There you go.
All right. Just want to check and make sure that I'm not missing out on anything. I know that I'm not, but for whatever reason, like I have to, it's just me. I just need to make sure I'm not missing anything because I don't want you guys to miss anything. But I do think that the jury, there are two separate trials, Crocheting Bammy, yes. And I think that, can you imagine being a juror in this upcoming trial? And they are pursuing the death penalty, Sluice investigates. Yes, they are. In fact, let me just see. I mean, you guys, he's got 60 counts. He's got 1, 2, 3. Oh, I don't really need to do all that. He's got 8 counts of sexual battery on a child under 12. He's got 8 counts of those. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 counts of sexual battery with a child 12 to 18, familial custody authority. He's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 counts of lewd or lascivious molestation. And he's got, 21 minus 60. Let me bust out the calculator. I know Ally could probably do that math in her head, but your girl cannot.
It will come to order. The Honorable Stephen Hitler, presiding judge.
Let me see that.
Oh my God, it's starting.
I got it. 39 counts of unlawful possession of materials depicting sexual performance by a child, 10 or more images.
Couldn't do the math because I didn't hear it. Like I heard that first one and then I was listening but focused on the chat. So
No worries, babe. I busted out the
8
calculator.
and
It's
5 or
39. It's 39.
okay. Oh, it's starting. I'm so nervous.
I know. I'm going to go have a cigarette, you guys.
All right, this is
BRB.
CR 0124316665. Defendant is present in custody with counsel Ms. Thompson, Ms. Jennings, and Ms. Taylor, Ms. Massoff, and Ms. Barlow. The state's present with Mr. Thompson, Mr. Horowitz, Ms. Jennings, and Mr. Nye is here as well. Am I miss anybody? I'm sorry.
Ms. Allen is here as well.
Ms.
Your
Allen
Honor.
is here as well. Very well, thank you. All right, we are here today to entertain a change of plea. Before I start, I want to address some issues of concern and otherwise. First, I appreciate everybody in attendance today being on their best behavior. Please, no outbursts or demonstrations. Any such conduct will result in immediate removal and may result in an inability to attend further court proceedings in this case. I want to point out that there have been calls by some for the public to contact me and my office in an attempt to influence my decision-making in this case. This has been extraordinarily disruptive for court staff and the ability for them to get work done, not only in this case, but in other cases where defendants are entitled to have their cases processed, and frankly, as important, if not more so, for victims to have their cases processed in those cases. It's also highly inappropriate. A court is not supposed to, and this court will never, take into account public sentiment in making an opinion regarding its judicial decisions in cases. Courts should, and I always will, make decisions based on where the facts and the law lead me, period. I have not read any of the numerous messages nor listened to any of the numerous voicemails that have been sent to me and my staff. Those have all been forwarded to security and, where appropriate, to law enforcement. I ask that you not continue to mount such campaigns or to send me information like this because, again, it is not appropriate and frankly not something I would take into account when deciding a matter in a case like this. I also want people to understand some very basic concepts about the ideas of separation of powers, and what the court's duties are, and what the duties and the rights of the executive, or in this case, the prosecuting attorney, is. The executive, the elected prosecutor, is the sole authority in deciding what charges to pursue, including whether as well as what penalties to ask for, and what penalties to pursue, including the death penalty. This court cannot require the prosecutor to seek the death penalty, nor would it be appropriate for this court to attempt to do that. This court, in considering a plea agreement, if it were to reject this plea agreement, cannot force the state to seek the death penalty. My role and power in considering a plea agreement is extremely limited. My role is to ensure that the defendant's plea is given freely, voluntarily, and intelligently. If those things are met, I can only reject a plea, such as the one in this case, where I'm not being asked to agree to the sentence in advance. I can only reject it, for example, if the defendant does not meet or admit to all of the elements of the crime. That is, I can ensure what is called a factual basis to the plea. Finally, I want to offer my apologies to all the families, including the victims' families, the families of the defendant, for the short notice for today's hearing, and I'm sure what must have been the hurried efforts to get here. I, like most everyone else, learned of this plea agreement Monday afternoon and had no inkling of it beforehand. Prior to that time, I was under the belief that this case was proceeding to trial, as had been indicated, and my staff and I were busy continuing to work on preparations to have potentially 10,000 citizens of Ada County come to jury duty starting in mid-July, with the questionnaire process in mid-July. It was, once I learned of the defendant's decision to change his plea in this case, it was important that I take the plea as soon as possible because of the extraordinary administrative efforts that were otherwise attendant to the process of this, getting this trial potentially underway on time, and including the significant process of bringing, again, potentially up to 10,000 jurors to come in and fill out juror questionnaires prior to the beginning of the voir dire process. And so it was important that we, if we're going to go down this road, do so expeditiously so that we can avoid those costs and expenses associated with that. Otherwise, if it was not going to result in a plea, or if for some reason the plea were to fall through today, that we could continue diligently towards trial at the time specified. And so that obviously required that we act quickly. And so some folks may have not had the amount of time that we would otherwise allow for them to travel here. And so, again, I apologize for that. I want to make people aware that during the hearing, if you are to leave the courtroom for any reason, you will not be readmitted during the hearing. Also, when we finish the hearing this morning, I ask that the public and media wait in their seats until the victims' families and the defendants' families and others are escorted out of the courtroom before you start to leave. Finally, I want to acknowledge the trial court administrator and her staff, the Ada County Sheriff, and the Ada County 4th District Marshal Service for the huge lift that they've accomplished in preparing for and orchestrating this hearing today, as well as to all the security attendant today that you see, and some of whom many of whom you don't see, with less than 48 hours notice. And so I appreciate the hard work that they've been doing. Frankly, some of them while they were on some vacation prior to the trial starting and had to call that short. And so I appreciate very much their professionalism and dedication. All right. That said, let's move to the business of today. I understand the state and the defense have reached a plea agreement in this case. For the record, I have a written plea agreement which indicates in sum the defendant will plead guilty to all 5 counts in the indictment, burglary, felony, and first-degree murder, 4 counts. The state and the defendant stipulate, that is, that the defense is not free to argue for a lesser sentence at sentencing to the following. The defendant on the burglary charge will be sentenced to 10 years fixed, and that the defendant on counts 2 through 5, the 4 counts of first-degree homicide, on each count would receive a fixed life sentence, all 5 of those counts to run consecutive to one another. Defendant, as part of the plea agreement, waives his right to appeal, as well as his right to appeal the sentence and his right to seek leniency or reconsideration of the sentence under Idaho Criminal Rule 35. This is not a Rule 11 agreement, meaning the court is not bound by the plea agreement and could impose a different lawful sentence at sentencing. The stipulated agreement between the parties is the maximum on each count, so theoretically the only thing the court could do would be a lesser sentence at sentencing. But the defendant is not free to ask the court to do so under the plea agreement. Are there any other material terms of the plea agreement that the parties would like to make? Obviously, the plea agreement, the written plea agreement will speak for itself and be part of the court record.
Not from the state, Your Honor. Thank you.
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right, very well. All right. Ms. Taylor, have you had sufficient time to discuss this case and all of its ramifications with your client?
I have, Your Honor.
Have you discussed fully with him his rights, defenses, and possible consequences to him of the guilty plea?
Yes, Your Honor.
Have you been able to do all the discovery you feel necessary?
Yes, Your Honor.
And have you informed your client of the importance of providing the court truthful and accurate answers in taking this plea today?
I have.
Have you apprised your client of any and all offers and counteroffers and answered his questions about those?
Yes,
Do you consent to the entry of the plea today?
I do.
All right, Mr. Kohberger, I need to ask you some questions this afternoon. or I guess it's this morning still. I do this to ensure that so that I am assured that you understand the nature of the charges to which I understand you're going to plead guilty, as well as the possible consequences to you of your guilty pleas. I want to make sure your plea is given voluntarily, and I want to make sure that you actually committed the crimes to which you're pleading guilty, because I don't want you to plead guilty to a crime you didn't commit. If you attempt to plead guilty today, but for some reason I don't accept your plea, then it is possible that your statements today could be used against you later at trial. Do you understand that?
Yes.
All right, thank you. And now, while you're standing, actually, why don't you take the oath from the clerk?
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you shall give in the matter not given before this court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
All right, and Mr. Kohberger, just to make it easier, you don't need to stand when you speak to me. I appreciate the sign of respect, but for convenience, you can remain seated, all right? Before I start asking you questions today, have you consumed, substantive questions, let me ask you, have you consumed any alcohol, drug, or other intoxicating substance that would impair your ability to understand or exercise reasonable judgment?
No.
You feel like you are thinking clearly today?
Yes.
All right, I want you to understand what the possible penalties are for each of the crimes to which I understand you're going to offer a guilty plea today. They include, on count one, the burglary, a fine of up to $50,000 and a period of incarceration of up to 10 years in the state penitentiary. You may be required to pay restitution to any victims of the crime. Count 2, 3, 4, and 5 for first-degree murder. The consequences include a fine of up to $50,000, a period of incarceration of life imprisonment, which is a requirement of a sentence, that it be a life sentence with a mandatory minimum sentence of at least 10 years on each of those counts. In addition, you would be potentially responsible for a fine of up to $5,000 to each of the victims of your crime, to be enforced in the form of a civil judgment, to operate as additional punishment. This is in excess of any restitution or fines that the court could order. And again, you may be required to pay restitution to the victims of the crime. You would be required to provide, as to counts 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, a DNA sample and a right thumbprint impression, and potentially pay for analysis of those samples. You would lose any right to possess, purchase, or carry a firearm, the right to serve on jury duty, the right to hold public office, and the right to vote. Do you understand the charges and all those possible consequences?
Yes.
You've heard the plea agreement that I talked about today. Do you agree with that plea agreement?
Yes.
And do you understand the nature of the charges that you've been charged with that I understand you're going to plead guilty today to?
Yes.
As I indicated, I'm not bound by the plea agreement, but the plea agreement is for the maximum on each count. Do you understand that I'm not bound by the plea agreement?
Yes.
Has anyone promised you that I would be lenient or easy on you if you pled guilty?
No.
Has anyone threatened you or anyone close to you to get you to plead guilty?
No.
Has anyone, other than the state's agreements with respect to the plea agreement, has anyone promised you anything in exchange for your plea agreement?
No.
Has anyone told you to be untruthful in answering my questions today?
No.
Has anyone offered you a reward of any kind other than the plea agreement in order to get you to plead guilty today?
No.
Are you pleading guilty because you are guilty?
Yes.
And counsel, obviously there have been a number of motions filed to suppress evidence in this case. Other than those filed, are there any other motions that you felt were available with respect to Rule 12.
No, Your Honor.
And Mr. Kohberger, you understand that by entering the guilty plea in this case, you would be giving up your right to appeal any decision this court made, as well as your sentence.
Yes.
Have you had enough time to decide whether or not to plead guilty?
Yes.
Are you pleading guilty freely and voluntarily?
Yes.
Given your choices, do you believe it's in your best interest to plead guilty?
Yes.
Have you discussed fully the matter of pleading guilty with your attorney, and are you satisfied with the advice you've received?
Yes.
Has your attorney advised you to your satisfaction about what your rights are, what your defenses may be, and what the possible consequences to you of your guilty plea are?
Yes.
Has your attorney done everything you've asked them to do?
Yes.
Are you satisfied with their representation of you?
Yes.
I have received a written guilty plea advisory questionnaire that is purported to be filled out by you. Did you fill that document out?
Yes.
Did you understand the questions that you answered in this document?
Yes.
And are the answers that are outlined in this document your answers?
Yes.
Are those answers truthful?
Yes.
Did you sign the document?
Yes.
And this document outlines many of the rights that you have in this case. Should you not plead guilty, did you understand those rights?
Yes.
They include a right to a jury trial. Do you understand that?
Yes.
They include a right to the presumption of innocence. Do you understand that?
Yes.
You have the right to require the state to prove your guilt as to each element beyond a reasonable doubt. Do you understand that?
Yes.
They include a right to confront your accusers and cross-examine witnesses presented by the state, including by utilizing the subpoena power of the court to accomplish that. Do you understand that?
Yes.
You understand you would have a privilege against self-incrimination and a right to remain silent, meaning you would not be compelled to testify if you did not wish to, had you not pled guilty.
Yes.
You understand you're giving up that privilege and those rights that I've just outlined by pleading guilty.
Yes.
All right, I want you to understand what the state would have had to have proven at trial had you, to the crimes that you're pleading guilty to, had you, if you didn't plead guilty. Let me find the document. Hang on a second here. All right. So as to count one burglary, the state would have to have proven that on or about November 13, 2022 in Latah County, Idaho, you unlawfully entered a residence located at 1122 King Road in Moscow, Idaho, with the intent to commit the felony crime of murder. As to count two, the state would have had to have proven that on or about that same date in Latah County, Idaho, you did willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, with premeditation and malice aforethought, kill and murder Madison Mogan, a human being, by stabbing Madison Mogan, from which she died. As to count three, the state would have had to have proven that on that same date in Latah County, at that same address, you did willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, with premeditation and malice aforethought, kill and murder Kaylee Goncalves, a human being, by stabbing her, from which she died. As to count four, the state would have had to have proven that on or about that same date in Latah County, Idaho, you did willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, with premeditation and malice aforethought, kill and murder Xana Kernodle, a human being, by stabbing her, from which she died. And then as to count five, also murder in the first degree, that on or about November 13th, 2022, in Latah County, Idaho, you did willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, with premeditation and malice aforethought, kill and murder Ethan Chapin, a human being, by stabbing him, from which he died. Do you understand those things the state would have had to have proven?
Yes.
And do you understand that by pleading guilty, the state no longer has to prove those things because you're admitting those things are true?
Yes.
I want to also make, for the record, the defendant has provided with the guilty plea advisory form a document entitled Written Factual Basis that purports to have the defendant's signature dated 1 July 2025. Did you sign that document?
Yes.
And did you agree with the written factual basis that is included there?
Yes.
And then let me ask you, did you, on November 13th, 2022, enter the residence at 1122 King Road in Moscow, Idaho, with the intent to commit the felony crime of murder?
Yes.
Did you, on November 13th, 2022, in Latah County, state of Idaho, kill and murder Madison Mogan, a human being?
Yes.
And did you do that willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, and with premeditation and malice of forethought?
Yes.
Did you, on or about that same date in Moscow, Idaho, kill and murder Kaylee Goncalves, a human being?
Yes.
And did you do that willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, and with premeditation and malice of forethought?
Yes.
And did you, on that same date in Moscow, Idaho, kill and murder Xana Kernodle, a human being?
Yes.
And did you do that willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, with premeditation and malice of forethought?
Yes.
And then on or about November 13th, 2022, again in Latah County, Idaho, did you kill and murder Ethan Chapin, a human being?
Yes.
Did you do that willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, with premeditation and malice of forethought?
Yes.
I would ask the state at this time to provide its recitation of its factual basis had this case gone to trial.
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, the organization of the recitation is different than what I think the court and the public may be familiar with from the probable cause affidavit and other documents. The state's evidence, as an overview, would show that back in March of 2022, when the defendant was residing in his parents' residence or was residing back in Pennsylvania, his home state, he purchased online a K-bar knife and sheath with an Amazon gift card that he had purchased shortly prior to the purchase of the knife, sheath, and sharpener. Jumping ahead, the end of June of that year, the defendant, Mr. Kohberger, moved from Pennsylvania to Pullman, Washington, which is right across the state line from Moscow, Idaho, for the purpose of pursuing a PhD in criminal justice at Washington State University. The state's evidence would indicate that beginning July 9th of 2022, Mr. Kohberger's phone began connecting to a cell tower that serves the area of the 1122 King Road residence in Moscow, Idaho. Now, I will acknowledge for the court and all present that there are many residences in that area. It's a dense population of mostly college-related occupants. Between July 9th of 2022 and November 7th, the defendant's phone connected to that particular tower during late night, early morning hours, 10 p.m. to 4 a.m., on approximately 23 times. Now, I will acknowledge also we do not have evidence that the defendant had direct contact with 1122 or with residents of 1122, but we can put his phone in that area on those times. In the interim, on August 22nd of 2022, Latah County Sheriff's Deputy Darren Duke conducted a traffic stop in the early morning hour or late evening hours, about 11 p.m. On the west side of Moscow, on the Moscow-Pullman Road. This was a traffic stop of Mr. Kohberger's car, which turned out to be a 2015 white Hyundai Elantra with Pennsylvania plates. During the course of the traffic stop, Deputy Duke was able to obtain Mr. Kohberger's name, Bryan Kohberger, his phone number and his address, which at that point was an apartment address in Pullman. We then move to the early morning hours of November 13th, 2022. The state's evidence would show that early morning hours on that day, Mr. Kohberger's phone left his Pullman residence, which is an apartment in kind of the central northwest part of Pullman. That phone was then subsequently turned off at approximately 2:54 a.m. and remained off until approximately 4:48 a.m. on Sunday, the 13th of November. The state's evidence would include at trial video surveillance of a business on the Moscow-Pullman Highway just across the state line from Moscow that would show a vehicle matching the description of the defendant's Hyundai Elantra entering Moscow at approximately 3:02 a.m. Compiled surveillance that the investigators put together from businesses and residents then show the defendant's car, the white Elantra, as I've described, circling the 1122 King Road area, that neighborhood, starting around 3:30 or so in the morning. Comes into the immediate area of 1122 King Road, which is actually on a dead end, and then leaves several times. And approximately 4:05 that morning, the defense car had entered that area, was leaving, stopped at the intersection of King and Queen Road, did a U-turn, and the state's evidence would show that the defendant's car came back and parked behind and above the 1122
I don't
King
know
Road
why
residence.
that there's an echo. There's nothing I can do
The state
about
believes
it.
that its evidence would then show
I'm sorry.
that
It seems like they
the
fixed
defendant
it, so
entered
there we go.
the residence of 1122 through the kitchen sliding door on the back side of the residence, which is the side of the residence that would face the area above where the defendant's car was parked. Defendant entered the residence, went to the third floor, and with a knife, killed Madison Mogan and Kaylee Goncalves. The defendant, as he left that room, for whatever reason, ended up leaving, or the sheath for a K-bar knife was left on the bed next to Madison Mogan's body. And I can jump ahead. That sheath was tested by the Idaho State Police Forensic Lab, and single source male DNA was found on the snap of that sheath, as well as blood from both Kaylee and Madison and other trace evidence. But it's important to note single source male DNA was on the snap of that sheath. The state's evidence would show that Xana Kernodle was still awake at this time. In fact, had taken a DoorDash order not long before this started. Her room was not on the third floor, it was on the second floor on the west side. As the defendant was either coming down the stairs or leaving, he encountered Xana, and he ended up killing her, also with a large knife. Ethan Chapin, Xana's boyfriend, was asleep in their bedroom, in her bedroom, and the defendant killed him as well with a large fixed blade knife. Each victim suffered multiple wounds. I will state for the record that there is no evidence there was any sexual component or sexual assault on any of the victims. I want to make that clear so there's no speculation. There were two other roommates in the house, and they were already asleep. During the course of this, one of those roommates awoke, looked out her door not knowing what was going on, and saw the defendant, who was dressed in black with a black balaclava on, holding some sort of container in his hand. And she saw him leave the house through the direction of the kitchen where that sliding door is that I mentioned before. At approximately 4:20 that morning, so this would have been 15 minutes or so later, the defendant's car is seen on a surveillance camera for 1112 King Road, which is immediately next door to the west of 1122, leaving the area at a high rate of speed. And if the court were to see that, or anybody in this courtroom would see that, you can see the car almost loses control as it makes the corner, heads north, and then turns to go south on Walinta, which is one of the only ways to get out of that part of town. The evidence would show that following that, the defendant in his Elantra drove south of Moscow. We know that he drove on the back roads because there are surveillance cameras on the main highways, Highway 95, that would have picked up the defendant's car if he'd gone that route. And they did not show the defendant's car on that route during the time. So we know that he went through a variety of back roads in very rural, isolated part of Latah County. About 4:48 that morning, the defendant's phone comes back on. And the evidence will show that that phone was located south of Moscow, likely at a side road intersection with Highway 95. From there, the defendant's phone activity tracks it heading back north towards Pullman, Washington, where the defendant lived. About 5:26, starting approximately 5:26, various surveillance cameras in Pullman, Washington pick up the defendant's vehicle as he enters Pullman from the south and heads north and slightly west towards his apartment, where he arrived at approximately 5:30 in the morning. Later that morning, Sunday, the 13th of November of 2022, Mr. Kohberger's phone returned to the area of King Road. We don't know exactly what he did, but it returned to that area. It's about 9 o'clock in the morning. He was there for about 10 minutes and then returned to his Pullman residence. About 9:30, the state's evidence will show, evidence taken from the defendant's phone, that he took a selfie of himself on his phone in what appears to be the bathroom of his Pullman apartment with a thumbs up. The defendant's phone then went to the Lewiston-Clarkston Valley, approximately 30 miles south of Moscow and Pullman. And the defendant is actually seen with his car at various businesses down there. This area is the confluence of the Clearwater River and the Snake River. Lewiston is Idaho's seaport. Large bodies of moving water down there. In addition to tracing the defendant's activities, as I've just outlined, on the 13th and leading up to the 13th, the state's evidence will show that following Sunday, November 13th of 2022, business records show that the defendant began searching for a K-bar knife and a K-bar knife sheath, as the state believes, to replace the one that was left at the scene of the murders. The evidence also will suggest that there were at least attempts by the defendant to delete or alter his purchase history on Amazon, where all these transactions had occurred. Later that week, the state's evidence will show that Mr. Kohberger went to what we would call DMV, motor vehicle licensing here in Idaho, in Pullman, to change his car registration from Pennsylvania to Washington. That's of note because Pennsylvania cars do not require a front license plate. The vehicles seen on the surveillance cameras of the defendant's car showed it didn't have a front license plate on it. At the time of the traffic stop by Deputy Duke in August, it was Pennsylvania plate, no front license plate. Mr. Kohberger proceeded to finish his semester of studies at Washington State University and returned to Pennsylvania for the holidays. Law enforcement at this point were aware of Mr. Kohberger, had been accessing information about him, were trying to find him. They located him in Pennsylvania, and they conducted what's called a trash pull. During the nighttime hours, agents of the FBI, who assisted immensely with this case, working with the sanitation department back in this neighborhood in Pennsylvania, took trash that had been set out on the street for collection, sent the contents of that from the Pennsylvania residence of the defendant's parents to the Idaho State Forensic Laboratory, where the lab experts there were able to identify DNA on a Q-tip as coming from the father of the person whose DNA was found on the knife sheath that was next to Madison Mogan's body in the bed. Subsequently, an arrest warrant was issued here in Idaho, and a search warrant was issued in the state of Pennsylvania with the assistance not only of the FBI, but the Pennsylvania State Police. Mr. Kohberger was arrested at his parents' home to return to Idaho. Upon his return to Idaho, a DNA sample was taken from him, and it matched the DNA found on the knife sheath next to Maddie's body at the crime scene. I can tell the court and the public the weapon itself, the knife, has not yet been recovered. I can tell the court that the defendant's apartment in Pullman was searched, as well as his office. Spartan would be a kind characterization. There was virtually nothing there. Nothing of evidentiary value was found. And of course, we are now talking 6-8 weeks after the time of the killings. In Pennsylvania, the defendant's car was seized, and it was actually pretty much disassembled internally. And it also had been cleaned. There was a bucket of cleaner right beside it. I think we can all look to our own cars, you know, in those compartments in the doors. We try to keep them clean where you put stuff. There's always some degree of crud in there. They were spotless. The defendant's car had been meticulously cleaned inside. And the state would present to the jury that that was part of the defendant's plan in covering up this. The defendant has studied crime. In fact, he did a detailed paper on crime scene processing when he was working on his pre-doctorate degrees, and he had that knowledge and skill. So, Your Honor, at the end, the state submits that the evidence that I've given just a quick overview of, and that to present in court would consume weeks, which the state is prepared to do and has been prepared to do, would show that as the defendant has just admitted and pleaded guilty on November 13th, 2022, excuse me, Mr. Kohberger entered the residence at 1122 King Road in Moscow, Idaho. He did that with the intent to kill. We will not represent that he intended to commit all of the murders that he did that night, but we know that that is what resulted, and that he then killed intentionally, willfully, deliberately, with premeditation, and with malice forethought, Maddie Mogan, Kaylee Goncalves, Ethan Chapin, and Xana Kernodle. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
I can try to go back when this is over and see.
All right,
But
based on the
it doesn't
state's,
let you say-
proffer, and importantly, based upon defendant's explicit admission to committing these crimes, the court finds there is a factual basis. Therefore, with respect to count 1, burglary, felony, how do you plead, Mr. Kohberger, guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
As to count 2, murder in the first degree, as it relates to the murder of Madison Mogan, how do you plead, guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
As to count 3, as it relates to murder in the first degree for the murder of Kaylee Goncalves, how do you plead, guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
As to count 4, the first-degree murder of Xana Kernodle, a human being, how do you plead, guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
As to count 5, the first-degree murder of Ethan Chapin, a human being, how do you plead, guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
Right. The court will find that the defendant understands the nature of the charges and each offense and the possible consequences to him of his guilty plea. The court finds that there is a factual basis for the plea and that finds the defendant believes the plea to be in his best interest. I find that the plea was given freely, voluntarily, and was intelligently made. I accept the plea. I direct that it be entered. I'll continue the matter for sentencing in this case. I think it was mentioned on the call Monday afternoon, the defense wishes to waive a pretrial investigation. Is that accurate?
Yes, Your Honor.
The state also?
Yes, Your Honor, the state does not believe pre-sentence investigation is needed, given the evidence that is available. We want to, though, make sure that all of the victims have the opportunity to make statements to the court at sentencing.
Absolutely, and certainly both the state and the defense may present whatever sentencing memorandum and other documents you wish me to consider. The victims will be given an opportunity to provide the statements that they wish to at sentencing. Do we need more than 1 full day for sentencing?
I do not believe so, Your Honor. Obviously, we have numerous victims, and we have victims who share unique who share unique perspectives on this, and we want to make sure that they all have time to express their feelings to the court. But I believe that if we can start perhaps 8:30 or so in the morning, that we should be able to complete it all in one day.
Defense agree with that in terms of the time frame?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. So as it happens, we have some time reserved in this case in July and August. The week of July 22nd is available. I don't know if that's too soon for the parties, or the next week, the week of August 4, is available. Any preference?
Your Honor, we're prepared as soon as the court wants to schedule it.
The state, I believe, would be prepared on the 22nd. We've told the victims' families that we're looking at approximately those dates.
All right. So because of the plan to bring in so many jurors to fill out questionnaires, I had ordered that no other trials could take place in this courthouse the week of July 22nd. And so we will use that in terms of the sentencing date because of what I'm sure will be the significant interest of the media and the public, and the logistics that will be required to make that happen. Without trials going, it'll be a lot easier to do that. So let's pick that week. Why don't we pick July 23rd with the idea that if for some reason we don't finish, we could continue into the 24th. We'll start at 9 in the morning. Does that give your team enough time, Sandra? 9 in the morning? All right. Any concerns with that date?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
No, sir.
All right. Any reason why I should not rescind the non-dissemination order at this time?
You're right. I think that given the history of this case, it would be best if that remained in place through sentencing. So we have time to make sure there's the ability to completely answer questions. That would be the state's preference and recommendation.
We'd have no objection for the order to remain in place through sentencing.
All right. I will, at this point, the idea to keep it until sentencing, which time it would be withdrawn in order to give the parties the space and time to prepare to meet what I'm sure will be the deluge of media requests. That's at least my preliminary decision at this point. We can always revisit if it seems to be, for some reason, I should. That said, obviously, I don't think the defendant, a bond was ever set for the defendant. Were it would be revoked. The prior order allowing him to come in civilian clothes is revoked, given his plea and no longer the presumption of innocence. And in fact, now the actual conviction for the crimes. He will continue to be held at the jail pending sentencing. Is there anything else today?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
I assume that the trial date will be vacated
trial
and those 4 jurors will be released.
The trial will be vacated, and I'm sure that the jury commissioner will get word to those that receive their summons that they won't be required to attend. So
Thank you, Your Honor.
that said, again, if you would all please wait for the parties and the victims' families and others to leave the courtroom before you do, I would appreciate it. And with that, we're adjourned. All right, please.
All right, so there it is. Give me just 1 second and I will go over to, hold on a second. Give me just a second and I will go over to Court TV and see if there's any interviews or whatever. The situation with Stephan Sterns is that it has not started. I'm still waiting for it to start. Hold on a second. There we go. I'm still waiting for it to start. I'm watching it. I have the live feed pulled up. It's obviously late. I don't know what's going on. I'm going to try to find that out for you guys. But in the meantime, let me go on over to Court TV and see. Nope, their feed is removed. From the court, but yeah. So yes, that order is still in effect. They cannot discuss this until after sentencing. So give me just a second. All right, hang on a second. Yeah. All right, let me find that because Nate's doing what I'm doing, but I'm not going to stream Nate. It's just not going to happen. I'm never going to do that to him. He works very hard, and I'm not going to do that. So give me just a second. Hold on, you guys. Let me try this. Hold on, I found something for us. So just give me a sec. All right. going to back up, buddy. Just on a side note, we're supposed to get a Winco here, but I've never been in one, so I don't know what it is. I think what's happening with Stephan Sterns is it might be a situation where there's a delay. So after court has recessed, they upload it. I'm not sure what's going on there. I know what's happened. But I'll give it a little bit longer. And if there's no feed, I'll just tell you guys what happened. Okay? How does that sound? Yikes on bikes. You're giving us the Blair Witch Project. Stop, sir or ma'am, whoever, camera person, operator. We're all going to get motion sickness. Oh, dear. Here comes Ally. Hey, you. I don't know if you can hear me or if you're even there. Yeah, this is, hold on a minute. Let me see if I can find a better stream. Let me just sec. Let me just mute this sound just briefly because it's hurting my ears. I'm wearing earbud or headphones. I don't know if Ally can hear me. She's probably trying to talk, but it's not working. So give me just a sec. See what I can find for you guys. Okay? Don't you guys worry. Hold on. See if it's any better. Yeah, it's better now that Hey, Ally, what's going on?
Now I can hear you, but I don't know how long
good.
it's going to last because the rain is starting back. But this
Okay.
is terrible. Like the whole hearing, I could play it through YouTube and listen.
Right.
But it was like freezing every 30 seconds for like 15 seconds. So by the end, I ended up like 8 minutes behind.
Oh, no.
And I know, it's annoying, but at least I can hear you right now. Wow. I mean, I don't know. I felt like it was pretty uneventful. What do you think?
I mean, I wanted to talk a little bit. Yeah, we didn't learn anything super new, right? But we did learn what the state intended to put on as their case. That's a requirement of a plea deal like this. What Kohberger is pleading guilty to carries the stiffest penalties. So they make this, hold on. I can't think with this in my ear. So they make, why is it? Oh, it's you. It's you or rain.
It's
okay.
the rain. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. No. You're fine. You're fine. I thought it was a thing. But the bottom line is, this is something that they would, this is normal what the state had to do. I do wish that, and maybe they will at sentencing. Maybe they'll make Bryan talk. I don't know. I understand why the families feel the way they do. And what I would say is this: I would encourage everyone, whether to give the family grace. This is a lot to have happen in a very, very short amount of time. And they're still going through the process of grieving for their loved ones. I mean, what happened to Ethan, Maddie, Kaylee, and Xana was brutal and horrific. So I would just ask that everybody give them grace. Let them process their feelings. Jeez, Lou, I got to find a better stream because this is terrible audio, and I don't know if they're going to fix it or what they're going to do, but I can't take it.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think the families have a right to be upset. The public, I mean, I don't know, being upset because they care for the families maybe, and they hate that they're upset, but
right,
like as far as him because he took a plea deal, I mean, or people are upset because they wanted to see the trial, you know what I mean? But it will save a lot of hurt and pain and trauma for the victims' families, the roommates, things like that. So, I mean, I'm not upset by it.
Neither am I. Okay, so let me update everybody on what's happened with the Stephan Sterns. Okay. So felony court minutes order, pretrial held, defendant's appearance previously waived, joint motion to continue denied, case to remain set for trial. There is no continuance. The trial is set for 7:15 at 9 a.m. That's it. That's how it happened. That's all there is. Will there be an order respective to the cell phone? He said he would give a written order. So I know that's next week, Sluice. That's next week. And of course, I'll be covering it. I'm just waiting to see if there's going to be a press conference. It looks like there is. It looks like they've got it all set up.
Okay, I know my background is loud, but Jen, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, I'm going to jump down after this because I'm getting wet, but I want to say crocheting Bammy, I don't think that's not all the evidence they had at all, but if they said their evidence would take weeks to present. It's just the outline of the evidence. We already know from filings we've seen, like the roommate text messages and different things, that there are things that weren't included in what he just said, right? So there's definitely other evidence. And this wasn't the prosecution's choice. You know, the defense asked for a plea. I feel like that says that they had enough evidence they were worried about taking on the court against it. You know, because if they didn't, then I'm sure Ann Taylor and Bryan would have rather gotten him off. They didn't have that much evidence. You know what I mean? So, yeah. It's just the outline of it. Yeah. So, that's all. Can you hear me still?
Yes, I can still hear you. Sorry, I was trying to... No, I can hear you. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I was trying to reply to Sluice. Okay.
All right, I'm going to jump down into the chat, Jen. Thank you for having me.
You're
welcome.
welcome.
I feel like I'm screaming. And I'll talk to you in a little bit.
All right, babe. See you later. Love you. Bye.
Okay, bye. Love you. Bye.
Love you too. Yeah, I have to say, Ally put it very well. That's absolutely correct. What they presented today was just an overview of the evidence. It's not all the evidence. So, of course, there's more than that. I mean, that evidence that they talked about alone, I would think would be a week of testimony, not weeks. So what he did was go over the evidence. It's like a weird, for lack of a better word, opening statement. So with the trash, yes, he did try to get rid of it. When they came to arrest him, what he was doing was separating the trash in that home, taking out his trash from the collective trash. And evidently, he had been taking that and putting it into the neighbor's trash can. That's what he was doing. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know what else. I'm going to have to change the title of this, but I don't, yeah. That's what he was trying to do. And the fact that I do like that they kept the non-dissemination order in place until the sentencing. I just think that emotions are very high, emotions are very raw, and yes, I feel like that's true also, Sluice, that he did wear latex gloves. But I do appreciate the things that Mr. Thompson said, like with respect to the car. Even the places where most people clean, the little like cubbies, all the little nooks and crannies, you always leave some behind. And there wasn't anything in this situation. It was immaculate, and he had weeks to do it. I'm not surprised that it was immaculate, and I'll tell you why, because he knew he couldn't afford to mess up. He'd already left the knife sheath at the residence where the murders were committed, and he already knew he wasn't going to take another chance and have something else more than that, I mean, the more DNA evidence you have, the less the harder it is to explain away, right? So I think what he did was make sure that there was nothing left. You know what I mean? And so I don't think he did it. I don't think he cleaned that car in one fell swoop. I think he continuously cleaned it. I think so, yes, Sleuth. I do think that he went back to the residence to see if he left it out on the yard or something, somewhere close where he could just snag it and go. And then when he couldn't find it, then when he realized it wasn't there, I think that's when he became meticulous about cleaning that car. And I'm not surprised that they didn't find anything. I mean, I think had they connected the dots and connected him before he left to Pennsylvania, I do think they would have found something. Yes, Crocheting Bammy, he went back before it was called into the police. Yeah, he did. All right, I need just a comfort break really quickly, so give me just 1 second, and I'll be right back, okay? So, Neat says, give your mom some love from your internet friends, coffee and skeletons. Yes, absolutely. I'm still sending all the jujus, all the good jujus to you. Okay. They need to come on with this. Here come the cops. So that means maybe it's close because they've already got security. So let's see what happens. This is taking forever. Oh, wow. Crocheting Bammy says there's more people at the courthouse for this trial than there was for the Daybell trials. Wow. I believe it. Like, what is taking so long, bro? I'm curious about who's going to speak, and if um, and if they're going to address the families and, you know, apologize for the lack of notice. But what I want to know is this. If there's a non-dissemination order, okay, how is it that Bryan Enton knew that there was a plea deal reached? That's kind of what I'm curious about. Kind of makes you wonder who called him, who tipped him off. Bryan Enton in court. Bryan Kohberger's parents are not crying but look sad, unlike their son who looks stone cold. Wow. I'm not shocked though. I don't know. I'm just curious, Crocheting Bammy. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. And even if there was an apology, I don't think it would do any good at this point. But I do wonder who told Bryan Enton, because because of there being a non-dissemination order and that there is no plea deal until the judge signs off on it, so it's not something that would be filed. I mean, yeah, that's what I was thinking, Sarah. Maybe the families or maybe Kohberger's parents. I don't know. I don't know, but somebody did. And I don't really have anything to say. I'm still like processing it all, you know, and I probably will have to go back and watch this again at least a couple of times before I fully appreciate everything that was said. Although I do think that the judge addressing the circumstances, the situation, all of it in the very beginning was the right thing to do. I mean, at the end of the day, the judge, he's right. He can't be swayed by public opinion. He can't be swayed by public outcry. He must apply the law in his decisions. And so I think him also addressing the issue of the death penalty, that it is up to the it's up to the prosecutor's office to determine whether or not they choose to seek the death penalty. And I think I think the judge saying that was important. Now, I'll say this. Do I think that it's going to stop the guessing, the speculating. No, it won't. And that's what's sad. But I do think that for people, like, there's a lot of people who this is the case that brought them to true crime. And they've not followed other cases all the way from the crime happening through the, investigation up to the pretrial and then watch the trial. So I think for the people that are unfamiliar with how this kind of stuff works, I think that I think the judge addressing that is going to go a long way in explaining the process. I do too, low key. Sleuth investigates. I feel like this. Who says I feel like this case is going to be worse than the Watts? I agree. I think there's going to be. I don't think that. And I'll tell you another thing. I think even if Bryan Kohberger got up there and said step by step every single thing that he did in the exact order that he did it, left no details out, I don't think that would even stop it. So there is that. I know, Ally, can you imagine, or ATS News, can you imagine worse than the Watts? I know, it's crazy. It's crazy. Hey, Officer Watch Looker Adder, can you give us a rough ETA of this press conference for the love of Pete? Well, I remember Sleuth Investigates way back in the beginning after Bryan Kohberger was arrested, and we were starting to get documents. And one of the documents that was filed online by the defense was the demand for discovery. But in that demand for discovery, what was included was the demand for discovery from any co-defendants. And people thought, oh my gosh, there was more than one person. So I went and looked online at the Idaho criminal procedures. And what I learned was that Ann Taylor had to do it right then and there, because if she had not, and should there have been a co-conspirator, she would not be entitled to any of the documents, investigation, etc., pertaining to that co-defendant. And so it was part of it's part of their criminal code, their criminal procedures. So I just I can only imagine what's next after all of this. Really, it's sad. It's I think it's going to be a nightmare of epic proportions, honestly. But I do hope, like Neat says, I pray that all of those who loved any of Bryan Kohberger's victims can find some peace. I can't imagine their anguish. I hope that for Bryan Kohberger's family too. He made them victims as well. Yes, I agree. I hope in time there can be healing, peace. I don't know if there are, Crocheting Bammy, there are a lot of people who believe Bryan Kohberger is innocent. Yes, there are. There are. All right, you guys, I can't wait anymore. I'm going to end this. But once, if there's anything that comes out that's posted to the docket website with respect to Stephan Sterns, I'll let you guys know. Okay, I promise. I'll keep you guys updated. All right. Thank you guys all for being here. Ally, thank you for coming up, babe. I'm sorry that the wind did you dirty like that, the storms, the rain. I'm so sorry about that, babe. But thank you for coming up. Thank you guys all for being here. I appreciate it very, very much. Thank you. If you haven't done so, give your girl a thumbs up on the stream, and I'll see you around the streets. All right. Bye.